can make influential decisions and active participation in that process. So I would like to start off by our first panelist, Monisola, and giving her the opportunity to talk more about what, and this is for all panelists, so how your work has influenced young people's participation in decision making and how this would look like for the next election. So, Monisola, the question is, in your sci-fi year and the work you're currently doing now, how has that contributed to youth participation in civic communities?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay, sitting on all existing protocols, my name is Kaufar Monisola Salaudin, and it's a great pleasure to be here. And I would also like to thank the organizers of all this this wonderful program. Thank you very much, Sci-Fi, for putting this together. So let me quickly kiss this question. During my Sci-Fi year, that's in 2019, I had the pleasure of working with 3 beautiful women. Temitayo, who is also here, Vicky, who is also part of the planning committee, please can you just wave? And I've made wonderful connections. Azizat is not here, she's in Abuja at the moment. I've made wonderful friendship with Temitayo, with Vicky, and Azizat over the years. So I was lucky to be placed in the Civil Liberties team, where we identified a particular community called Arapagilotu, Dongo, Abegede. These communities are located in the riverine area of Ipejundeki axis in Lagos State. I'm sure that you've never heard of Dongo before. Arapagilotu, have you heard of it before? Abegede, have you heard of it before? Damn! Yes. They are in the riverine parts of Ipejundeki local government area. So if you've not heard of these places, these people vote, but the dividend of democracy does not get to them. They don't have access to electricity. They don't have good road net. They don't even have road. Like, we have to go over the water with flying boats. And we did not know how to swim. And there was no life jacket. So there was there is this. He was usually scared of using the boat because there was no life jacket provided. It was just more of a motivational talk. Vicky, we can do this, we get there, don't worry. Vicky, we can do this. But she said that they did not ask me to come and die. So please, why can't we just change our location to somewhere closer? And I felt like, see, if we continue to shift this thing to, let's say, places we can access with vehicles, with good road networks and all of that, how about those that we cannot access with good road networks? What will happen to them? I am sure that every other organization that would want to take one intervention or the other to add Begede to Dongo will also consider that it is too far. So why are we going there? And besides, we are risking our lives. Our parents are always expect us one of those things. So we went there and we intervened into so many other problems that they were suffering from. They had the issue of lack of public health sector, their children weren't going to school, they didn't have good road networks, all of those things. And we were able to actually train the community members. We have the clerics and clergymen, we have the men and the women, and also the young people in the community on how they can effectively communicate with their elected and selected representatives across board. So we trained about 200 young people, men and women, clergymen, and of course clergymen. Okay, we didn't have our fathers as women, but we had grown-up women, we had traditional women, traditional birth attendants, and we also trained on how they can actually communicate with their elected representatives. Now, in my work about 5 to 7 years, I am in the social impact space, I am in the civic engagement space, government and leadership, public policy, and all of that. And as a young person, I've also encountered, or I've also suffered from so many challenges, 21st century challenges. I'm talking about insecurity, I'm talking about unemployment, I'm talking about lack of access to basic amenities, I'm talking about climate change, gender inequity, food shortage, and all of that. And I'm like, Africa, or Nigeria by extension to Africa, has the largest youth population in the world at the moment. I am talking about 151 million young persons. That's about 70% of 217 million people in Nigeria. And how can we leverage on all the opportunities, on all the platforms that we have to solve the myriads of problems compacting us as a society? Yes, you can be in the fintech, you can be in the agricultural space, you can be in sports and entertainment, you can be anywhere. But I chose to be in the social impact space. I chose to be in governance. I chose to be in public policy. I chose to be in that one because see, no matter where we find ourselves, whether in social, in the sports and entertainment, if we don't have people who represent our interests, who make good policies to suit those things, innovations, lofty ideas will die a natural death in the hands of incompetent entities. And that was why I decided to say, okay, fine, let me go to this sector. There is a lot to be done in this sector. My being there is actually to provoke change, and there is a lot of provoking that needs to be done.
Yes.
There's a lot of change that needs to come forth when it comes to our public policies and laws and regulations that suit, that promotes our democracy, that strengthen us as people in Nigeria and by extension, Africa. So my work under Project Secure PVC, I am the founder of Project Secure PVC. And when I thought about all of these challenges, and I'm like, okay, how do I come in? I am done criticizing. And I will never ever be a part of criticisms without conduct, oppositions without solution. I will never be part of it. It is easy as people for us to say that, see, a system that does not welcome criticism will never grow or doesn't have freedom. So said Malaysia in one time that, okay, the only thing that can make freedom, that there's a threat to freedom is the absence of criticisms. But I beg to disagree. That, see, or let me say I'm going to add to that quote that see, freedom that is devoid of responsibility will lead to doom. If we don't know how to conduct ourselves in manners as to show that, okay, these are our concerns, these are the things we disagree with, we should not just come out there on open criticisms. Yes, we are young people, but there are ways that we can actually put out our criticisms with conduct, as well as what? Taking responsibilities and proposing solutions to those criticisms. So at Project Secure PVC, what we've done thus far is this. We will believe that, or would agree with me that young people are more or less the lubricant for the wheel of change in Nigeria. But how do we want to bring them on board? Talking about civic engagement now. How do we want them to actually take charge? How do we want to integrate them into the system that would consider their opinions as important, as imperative to the change we want in Nigeria? And I'm like, see, before young people can come on board, there is a need for enlightenment. You will agree with me that so many young people out there are embodiment of blunt minds. And you cannot come into the Nigerian public sector without knowledge, without knowing what the public sector entails. So I felt like, okay, guys, let's come together. I only conceived the idea, but I had people who were supportive, who wanted to come on board with me. And today I can categorically tell you that I have successfully registered with my teammates 20,250 persons for their permanent register. I am talking about working with grassroots people in Pansheke, in Abeokuta, Ajegule in Lagos, Bere Oje in Ibadan. Those are places we have been to. If you know Bere Oje, you will know what I am talking about. No, if you have been to those places, you will know that it's not an
Priscilla.
to have myself and risking the lives of many young people. I did not have security to you. I'm serious. I did not have money or I did not have interest in security from our followers. Who I be? Who am I? These are the challenges we face there as young people. But see, with the dexterity, with the conscientiousness to actually tackle this problem, there has to be the zeal. The will has to be there. So I went out with my team. I said, see, we cannot continue to sit on the fence or stand outside the door and then complain. Let's go out there. And until today, I am happy that we're able to actually break that particular barrier ahead of the 2023 general election. And in 40 days time, the connection for PVC, your permanent voter's card, which I will call your permanent voice card, is going to close. And somebody said earlier, I think the host said that, see, you should not wait for the broadcast on the radio or the broadcast on the TV. I think it should be a one-on-one evangelism. When you tell somebody there is credibility, it means seeing somebody talk to me that, see, go and get this thing. But beyond all of that, I'm going to get to but there is a lot to actually say. There is a lot for us to actually continue to do. But you know what? Let me stop here. Thank you.
I love what you talk because I feel that you're almost in the same space with her when she starts talking about how much drive it takes to actually create that change. And I think that would lead me to Chidera. Now, Moni has talked a lot about, well, I don't know if a lot of people caught it, but there is a large gap in between those who are speaking and what they get afterwards. Now, there are so many communities that are completely cut off from development dividend. Like, they come out and the only time they see development is when it's time to vote.
Yes.
And then that is when the roads are good enough for someone to cross over the rivers and to see that there's a community here that a lot of times, most of them are women. They do not have the means to actually ask for more. And now, when they voted, and at the end of the day, it stopped them, what does that civic participation mean for them after putting their thumbprint in front of a flag or a badge or someone's name and say, this is person we're electing? Where does it go from them? How do they speak up and ask for what is rightfully theirs?
Generally, apart from political apathy, in our society, in Nigeria, we also find that a lot of people are disillusioned with the political process, the political system, and as such, they're not as enthusiastic, right, about the electoral process itself. But can you really blame them? Like you rightfully pointed out, there's a whole gap, and you can tell that they are only remembered when it's time, for voting, exactly. And especially with women voters, women who live in underserved communities in this country, they are I would like to say, disenfranchised group. There's already so much stacked against them, and so they're usually the most apathetic group, when it comes to the political voting in general. So I think one of the most important things, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so, I feel so lucky to be a part of this thing that we're doing at Sci-Fi, is that we need to mobilize at the grassroots level, right? And it's not something that starts a year before the elections. It's something that the groundwork has to have been done. So for example, I'll give you the PVC for Her campaign. The PVC for Her campaign has been running over the last 2 years, and it is a Sci-Fi initiative that was funded by the United States government through the US Consulate in Lagos. First things first, what we did when we went into these 20 LGAs in Lagos was to select 2 Amazons, as we call them, 2 women, right, female representatives, and we provided them with a week's training on the political process, political participation, in conjunction with other civic organizations who are also as passionate about political participation. And after that training, these 40 Amazons, 2 from each of the 20 local governments in Lagos, were supposed to go into the communities and spread the word, pretty much. And so once that was complete, we had kind of set the ball rolling, and it was easy now to go into these communities, into these LGs, right? And then, there was a lot of stakeholder engagement, especially at the local government, level. The local government chairman, traditional leaders, community leaders, councillors, having actual conversation and engaging, these women who would otherwise not show up until it was time to maybe collect rice or, get wrappers, stuff like that. And then with the aid of INEC, right, in partnership with INEC, we were able to register 2,000 of these women, yes, in these 20 local governments to be able to get their PVCs. And I think that was major. That was huge. We're not talking about it enough, how important it is to get women and youth, right, at the grassroots level mobilized for these things. I always say women are the shoulders that carry the entire country. And if they're not involved in the political process, then how are we able to make policies that can actually benefit them? If there's no representation, if they're not able to exercise their civic duty, how do we really get the change that we want? So I'm really proud of the PVC for Her campaign. It was wonderful. We're able to, like I said, we're able to register 2,000 women. By extension, directly we were able to affect 2,000, and we're indirectly able to affect 10,000. Because then we also had IEC materials. We had, flyers and all of these materials that explain to people in the terms which they understand, right, in the language in which they speak, what the political process is about, why it's imperative that they get involved, and the role that they have to play in the political process. So yes.
So, as someone who was part of that, if you are not part of sci-fi, you're missing out. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there, just so you know.
But as someone who was part of that process, I can tell you that there is something of a pride to be able to see someone understand the power behind their votes. That little light bulb moment that says, okay, this actually counts for something. Because a lot of people do not understand that power, that responsibility as well, that comes with voting and being a part of the process. Yes, you can. Welcome to the club. 30 seconds. Okay.
30 seconds, can you?
That's something.
Very quickly, I wish I could actually stand on my feet right now because I wanted to corroborate what she said now about women and how they are very laid back when it comes to political participation or participation in election and electioneering process. Honestly speaking, there is an illusion, and I believe that what can solve that illusion is education, an enlightened mind. Yes. Because there's this last stanza of the University of Ibadan anthem that says that, for a mind that knows, if you know it. Yeah.
That's free.
Okay. For a mind that knows is a mind that's free. Yes, a mind that knows is a mind that is free. You cannot bring to people something that will change their lives when they don't even understand the content of that thing and how it is going to actually change their lives. For women, see, to all the women here, my mothers, my aunties that are here seated right now, the truth is that you have so much power than you can even imagine. See, let the men stay here, but you have so much power than you can imagine. Because when the men are running for one political this or the other, they come to meet you. You are the tools they are going to use to influence your husbands at home. And if you are telling me that, yes, in the street is not smiling or something, and the men are using jazz or using this. When they go to Babalawo will not say Ibayi ya Babalu. Babalawo is saying
Ibayi Yami. Yes.
I'm serious. So they consult you, the women. So if you are listening to me right now, there is power in being a woman. If you don't understand it, ask the native doctors. They are never ever going to say that Babalu. They will consult what? The mothers, because they are the best. They are the ones that will grant them the power. They are the ones that will give them the authority to nothing, to go and contest. So if you are here and you don't understand the kind of weight you carry, the kind of power you carry, and you leave your roles to people who don't even know how important you are, God did not just say you are the pillar. You are the most, the moment you just shoot the table, the man will fall.
Come on. How fast? You will not accept.
I'm not going to let my inner this one will blow. So just leave it here. Money. Okay. So as Moni said, a lot goes into canvassing. A lot goes into having them understand what that would. And I think that's one of the key things that is a tool when it comes to politics. The management of information. Information is power. The kind of information that is released, who it is released to, and when affects greatly the decisions that are made and what those decisions will lead to. And I think for Olamilekan, you work in the tech space, you work with a lot of young people. And the tech space is, or let me put it this way, the digital space is an entirely different community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a world on its own, where information can either break or make you. And it determines how you engage with that community. How have you used, in your work with SIID Africa, how have you used that as a platform to engage young people, especially women, on interacting with the political space and with the civic space in their society, or in the community?
All right, I think I'll start by saying, there's this narrative about, the present generation being just talkative online. Like, the social media giants,
Yes.
the online voters, and all sorts of phrases that are being used to make young people look as though, because you are having conversation online, it means, it's not relevant.
You don't have a presence.
You don't have a presence, physically. But I think it's high time we began to know that the social media has come to stay. Digital space, digital ecosystem, maximizing this space is as important as anything right now. I like to tell people that, see, there are two ways of sustaining whatever it is we're doing. Probably you're working on climate change, you're working on gender equality, governance. The bedrock of sustaining this, everything that we're doing, lies in youth and technology. Now, the reason why I will say this is that, see, technology is evolving daily. Things are changing. Obviously, the 2020 NSAS, actually showed that in Nigeria that it's not just about just the Twitter giants. A lot of conversations moved beyond just an hashtag to we seeing young people out there, going out en masse, and it showed that beyond Twitter, beyond Facebook, beyond hashtags, it can be a driving force for engagement. It can be a driving point for engagement. A lot of people actually are connected to this conversation right now. They are not here physically. Now, imagine if there was no technology and we had to have some conversations like this, where wonderful insights are being shared, and it's just limited to the number of people that are here at the moment. How does that sound like? Let's go back to 2020. All of us are well prepared, and COVID came all of a sudden. A lot of organizations shut down, a lot of things went down, but life did not stop, right? Conversations keep on going on, work keeps on going on, engagement keeps on going on. Now, this did not happen out of the blues, but some people had created platforms that made this possible. Let me quickly share an experience. What led me into starting Seed Africa in the first place? 2016, I applied for my master's in the US, and this time I wasn't doing any paid job. I was just a regular guy, building websites, doing graphics, and training people on how to use digital skills. So I decided, okay, I actually studied as counseling. So I was already working on a platform then, a counseling platform with a friend, and he said, okay, I needed to study more to know more about counseling, because the environment here was more about the counseling in schools. So I wanted to do more of the mental health counseling. Now, I applied, got part scholarship. In fact, I even got a job with my supposed lecturer then, because I was so interested in this thing. Now, but the whole thing changed because applying for visa, I was denied the first time. What happened? I I applied again a week after.
Okay.
I went back. I was denied visa again. You know, I started asking questions. What happened? You know, the second time I had to ask the is it consular they called them? I had to ask him this time around that no, you can't just tell me my visa is rejected. What happened? I need to know what really happened. So he was like, yeah, you're working on the project, right? I said, yes. Why don't you go back and focus on the project? I'm like, I'm actually traveling because I need to focus more on this. And so to cut the long story short, see, I discovered 5 things why my visa was rejected. 1, I'm a young Nigerian man who is digitally inclined, not doing a paid job, and you want to travel. Now, this all put together, my own summation is the fact that the image of Nigeria has been dented by some young people who are supposedly in my shoe, who have the skill but are using it for the wrong purpose. Now, I couldn't sit back. Yes, I think I was quite depressed at the point, but you know, I had to pick myself up. Like, no, if this will happen to me, that means it's happening to other young people out there. Something has to be done. So, the knowledge is what we decided to put together, the ICT skill. Why don't we change the narrative? You know, reach out to young people out there. See, not just young, when I say young people, I mean both male and female. And you'll be surprised at how much women out there are beginning to make use of technology. I have a lot of young people actually doing fantastic things. Now, bringing it back to civic engagement. You see, the way things are changing. If you look at the election, before now, we don't have beavers. It's a different approach. Now things are changing. INEC is also beginning to look at how to adopt technology to really drive the way election is being done. But we could have decided to hold on and wait till keep on doing this the way we used to. But it's changing, meaning that technology is having its part. But who are those driving this technology? Young people. Youth are the ones driving this technology. So I don't think you can separate innovation, you can separate change, and you can separate sustainability in civic space without young people.
I don't know why you keep forgetting to do that. I like what Adi had said about young people driving change. And as I will call myself a young person, and we'll leave it at that. As a young person, during my time in sci-fi, I had what we call the sci-fi spirits. How many sci-fi fellows do you have that? Sci-fi fellows in the house, alumni. I'm doing it intentionally so that you will know that you will join us. You understand? So there is something called the sci-fi spirit. That spirit to drive change wherever it is needed. That spirit to create platforms and atmospheres that support young people's development, young people's participation, and gives them that voice. And what I want to ask now, before I say this, please know that there are opportunities for you to give your comments or ask questions more on the work of sci-fi, the PVC campaign, the work of Monisala, the work of Ganiyu as well, and how any questions you have regarding that or the sci-fi fellowship and program. What I want to say that, how have you been able to use that sci-fi spirit and drive that sci-fi spirit in the work that you do, so that it is having a multiplier effect, especially when we're talking about young people's participation next year? Because we are looking at it that, okay, it's still next year. It is not still next year. This is December. This is the middle of December. We do not have time to really dally anymore. We do not have time to keep talking about what we intend to do. Now we need to start doing. So how do we start doing going forward? Moni.
Thank you very much for that question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The sci-fi spirit, for me, it's the can-do spirit. It's the go ahead. You can make this thing happen. You can transform what you want to transform. You can provoke the change you want to provoke. you can make the impact that you want to make. That's the sci-fi spirit for me. And in my work in the social impact space for about 5 years now, I would say that, okay, I became a sci-fi member in 2019. So that's like how many years ago?
3.
3 years, yeah. I don't know maths. I'm being serious. Okay, so that's 3 years ago, yeah. And my work for 3 years now has just revolved around civic engagement. How do I dilute the knowledge of the electoral laws? How do I make simpler the knowledge of the Constitution for people at the grassroots level, speaking in the language they understand, I've made content in Yoruba, I've made content in Igbo, I've made content in Pidgin, just because I want the average person, the person who has never walked through the 4 walls of a classroom, to understand what the Nigerian laws is all about. How do they navigate? You cannot rule people in foreign language, seriously. Nigeria is like a confluence, a measure of so many people speaking different tongues. And when we have all these laws that are not simplified to an average person, an ordinary person, a layman, who cannot understand what we are saying, there will be problem in government. Yes. So, but let me be funny a little bit. To all our mothers here, I can see 2 big women in front of me. Mommy, yes. And you too, ma. Yes. I want to just ask you one question. When your husband, when he doesn't listen to you at all, please, what do you do? No, I'm so sorry. Okay, maybe when your partner, let me use the word partner. Ma, you don't do anything. Okay, people with husbands, I'm so sorry. Ma'am, please, what do you do when dad doesn't listen? How do you convince daddy to listen? What do you do, please? I really want everybody to hear what you have to say. Okay. Okay. Maybe you are serving him food. Not necessarily when he's eating.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
When you know that he's calmed down.
Okay.
And listen to you very well. Without arguing.
Oh, thank you very much. Please clap for mommy. I've seen my mom do the same thing she does.